everyone, welcome back to another episode, Walk the Talk Style. And today I'm joined by a very, very special guest, someone I'm super appreciative and grateful has come on board to join us today on an episode. And this person I'm about to introduce is specific to virtual assistant support to all EXP agents. So Emily Geary, a massive welcome to you. Thanks for joining us. So Emily, a common question I get asked by a lot of agents and a big talking point that every agent absolutely needs is support. So today we're going to talk about your department, what that entails, your role, and then we're going to dive in and have a look at some of the numbers. So firstly, I'm going to hand it over to you, a little bit of an intro.
Yeah, so I am all things contracts and settlements for EXP. So I guess I typically get involved with the agents once they have an executed contract. From that point all the way up till the moment it settles, I guess I would be the contact person for each agent for all states.
Brilliant, brilliant. So now I came from a former office place, I guess, where most agents are accustomed to. You're what we class as our virtual assistant support person. And the beautiful things, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not an agent in EXP, just to explain, we have virtual assistants internal to EXP that are all based in Australia. So where are you based, Emily?
I'm on the Gold Coast. So
you're on the sunny Gold Coast.
A lot of the corporate team are in Queensland, and yeah, I'm just another one.
Excellent. So our virtual support team based on in Australia first and foremost. So agents have direct correspondence and they have a relationship with yourself to take care of contract to settlement proceedings. So previously in an office environment, I guess I would normally, once I get a contract, I would process that contract to story sheet, put it into the administrator's tray. How does it work now for you and your role?
So I guess with the system, we've got Agent Box.
Yep.
It's very user friendly. So all the agent really needs to do is input the contract parties and the contract dates.
Yep.
It's a three-step process to actually processing the executed contract.
Yep.
From that point, you compile the sales advice and it draws all the information that you've just put into the system.
Yep.
You send that off to what's called our inquiries email. The licensee of the state will review the contract, send me an approval, and from there I disperse that to the conveyancers. And any communication that comes from my end to anyone to do with a contract,
yep.
I always CC the agent in. So there's never any communication on my end without the agent being included. And that goes with the trust receipts as well. So anything to do with the trust receipting, that sits in my department. So once the deposits hit the trust account, they are receipted by our accounting team, but they're dispersed from me. So I will send those out to the conveyancers and the buyers, and of course CC the agent.
Brilliant, brilliant. And that's a really important point because we're about to jump into the numbers in a moment, and they are frightening how much transactions you are doing as one resource in your department at the moment. And you know, I just jumped off a podcast with Mike Lowry, who said, you know, the support we get is more efficient than what he had in an office environment because you're working from home. So you have the flexibility to start when you want, knock off when you want, balance working with the kids, obviously, as well. I think that's really important because you're far more productive, I'm sure, in the time that you have in your home office versus having to commute an hour here a day, an hour there a day, in between family life and work, obviously, as well. So I think there's a wonderful of abundance being able to work from home like you choose to do and have the ability to do. I mean, I know there's been times I've had emails from you at 7 o'clock in the morning, which we don't expect, but I guess when you have a cup of tea in hand and you've just walked from the kitchen to the office, productivity is already underway.
Well, when the kids are quiet, I make the most of it, and I can get a lot done in a quiet hour.
Absolutely.
Come 3 o'clock, that's when it gets a bit crazy.
And that's great. It's great that our support team have the ability to have that lifestyle, to get in when you choose, to be as productive as much as you need to be in the time that works best for you. 3 o'clock onwards might be more family time. You might like to get in a bit earlier to do the support you need for the team and get out a bit earlier. That's really cool. I love that. Interesting note as well. So trust receipting, trust accounting's all taken care of for our agents, which is great, but everything's done digitally. So you mean to tell me, now, how many contracts did you process last month? So we're in April. So let's talk about March. How many contracts did we finish up in March?
Oh, okay. So settled wise for, let me just bring up my spreadsheet. So obviously each month we're planning to have the numbers increase. So January this year we did 76 settlements.
Yep.
February,
this is nationally too, guys. This is nationally. Yep.
Yeah. This is the 5 states. March we did 64.
Yep.
So we did beat February, but obviously not January. But for April, we're hoping to get 85 for the month.
Wow. Excellent. So how many contracts would you be processing an average per month? Like, just what's the average month look like contract-wise for you?
Oh, gosh. Look, I could keep track of all different kinds of stats. Yep. I try to limit it to just, I guess, as a whole. Otherwise, I have a spreadsheet that has any kind of number that you can think of.
Yeah.
But look, we're probably, at the moment, I'm just going with South Australia. Active contracts for South Australia, we've got 89. Yeah. And that's the biggest. That's the biggest state. As a whole, across Australia, we've got 212 active contracts. So
phenomenal.
We're not going below 200 at all anymore. That's our average. Yeah. It hovers probably around 220 down to 212.
They're phenomenal numbers to have one dedicated resource like yourself who's super committed. You've got an incredible work ethic and workflow that works well for you, absolutely. To balance over 200 contracts at any one time as one resource, I know, coming from a former office environment business owner myself, I could never expect that of one administrator or one support person. And again, it's that distraction.
Look, it's a team environment, I think, with EXP. The agents and I can work together well. I think that those numbers can be managed easily.
Well, must commend you. Again, just got off the podcast with Mike and he said, my former life, I would have to follow up my admin support team to say, hey, the conveyancers rung me asking for this contract or this story sheet or where's the receipt for the deposit? Whereas now he says it's the other way around. It's you following him up saying, where's the contract? We got a deposit. I can't receipt it, which I think is brilliant. So let's just, you don't have 220 property files sitting in a tray behind you or beside you there anywhere. So no paperwork whatsoever goes past your desk, yeah? It's all done digitally.
It's all I'm very email based. I rarely sort of get on the phone as well. We've got obviously workplace chat, which sometimes I'll communicate through, but predominantly I'm email. If you need to get me, the quickest way is via email, because if there's too many forms of communication, it gets quite overwhelming, especially with the contract. So I tend not to text. I tend not to make phone calls. Workplace chat, sometimes not. It's email. That's the easiest way to get hold of me, and it's all done on the computer.
I love that. Email, it's date and time stamp. There's always a trail, so you can never slip up who's right or wrong, because there's history there that you can track. But I just love that, because I think, back to my former life of a business owner, if I had an administrator support person sitting there with 216 files in a tray, you'd almost look like you're building bricks for a house. Whereas you don't have one property file, not one paper document. Everything's done digitally through our in-house systems that we've got to streamline everything. And what I love about it as an agent is I can see live behind the scenes where things are at and what you're working on. It's all there. We're plugging into the same system. We're not stepping external to that. That's great. Well, I guess I really appreciate you joining us as a little bit of insight to who you are, your role. For anyone that's maybe looking at EXP, please understand we do have support people like Emily who are real life people in front of you in the screen right now, based here in Australia, that help support and our agents to list and transact, obviously. In fact, next week, we're going to be joined by Kirsten Fay, who's also in our corporate team in a support role. She's our onboarding specialist. So her role is about onboarding the agents before day one and then ongoingly after day one to make sure that they embed themselves really well during that pivotal time of any transition. Any other words of advice or insight into your role, what a day looks like for you, Emily?
Look, not much gets past me, I don't think, when deposits hit the trust account and I haven't received any communication. You best know I will be contacting you.
Guilty as charged. And I love that. Like, I'm the licensee here in South Australia, and this is where we say it's teamwork. Like, I don't see what all the troops, the guys and girls are doing on a daily basis. And, you know, as part of compliance, we have legislational requirements we need to uphold. And if a deposit's sitting in a trust account, hey, we've got to receipt that really promptly. So, you know, Emily sometimes will follow me up.
I think the best, I guess, note since we launched is not one contract has fallen over because of something to do with EXP.
There you go. So you've got 100% success rate from contract to settlement.
Yeah.
That we haven't affected any or jeopardized any settlement that's related to EXP.
Yeah,
I love that. That's music to my ears as licensee. Yeah. I love that. And I think that's a really good point, you know, because your role is very pivotal. There's a lot of legalities. There's a lot of legislational requirements. It's, you know, it's not just processing paperwork from beginning to end. There's a lot of red tape and stuff we've got to go through to make sure everything's above board. And our agents are empowered to know that they are supported from you through to myself as licensee, that everything's above board. We check our paperwork. We approve all our paperwork on behalf of the agents to make sure that, you know, they've got the right compliance support behind them as well.
Yeah, even down to the commissions when it comes to the full deposit being paid. I'll always get an invoice out to the seller's conveyancer to make sure every single party knows either what we're owed or what we hold in the trust account. So at any point, our commissions is always very, very visible, and we make sure that that's always completed at settlement. Excellent.
Emily, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for the overview into your role and what your life looks like on a daily basis with EXP in a support capacity. Really appreciate it. And we really value everything you do for us, because I know, speaking to just Mike, as I mentioned before, and all of the team here in South Australia, they love your support. You're absolutely an invaluable team member to us, and we couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for you. So thank you for your time and thank you for all your efforts.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, it's teamwork.
That's it. Well, there you go, guys and girls. Thanks for joining us on this episode, Walk the Talk Style. There's a little bit behind the scenes of what our support looks like in Emily Geary in our contract to transaction department, internal to EXP, and the support offering to all our agents within our network. But until the next episode, it's bye for now.